other than corruption, other than sabotage from within, what's the biggest challenge that the police force faces?
I think the biggest challenge is related to the fact that they've never been allowed to be independent. If they were allowed to be independent, the National Police Service Commission would work properly, meaning that the human resource issues of the National Police Service would be taken care of. In the last 4 years, we've been in the era of murder-suicides by police officers. Whenever they're in the camps, they kill themselves, they kill their companions or their fellow officers, and then commit suicide because of mental health issues. It means that no one really is looking into these issues as it should be looked at. So the National Police Service Commission was supposed to be that human resource manager of the National Police Service, dealing with recruitment, if it is if you're to be transferred, to be promoted, to be disciplined, yeah. But because of what I've outlined earlier, the sabotage by the National Police Service leadership, that still sits within the Inspector General, and so they really don't have a way out. And so what we're arguing is that if the system is allowed to work as it should, then the police would be more comfortable, better, because policing is stressful. You can, if you're a police officer right now, you'll be called to Mbagathi Way. Someone has been flattened by a car. You're supposed to pick that body. Someone has been raped. You're supposed to go look at the case, internalize it, and go and testify in court as the as the investigating officer. Even IPOA itself. I'm sure you guys know that almost every month or every other month there's a police officer being convicted of abusing Kenyans.
Yes.
Yeah. In the past, it was not something that a police officer could be taken to account for abusing, for beating up, for killing a civilian.
Yes.
That's happening every day. Police officers are actually scared of IPOA. That is something good. That's called accountability.
Yeah.
Yeah. However, one of the findings of the Maraga Task Force is that the National Police Service, which is headed by the Inspector General and his deputies, they sit in the National Police Service Commission. The National Police Service Commission is made up of 2 retired cops and other civilians.
Okay.
So what has been happening is that they have been neglecting meeting with the National Police Service Commission, which means that the National Police Service Commission cannot have quorum. And so the human resource issues of the National Police Service cannot be transacted because the National Police Service itself is sabotaging the National Police Service Commission. And that was a very big finding in the report. Just in December, the National Police Service Commission hired officers, because they're human, just like the Judicial Service Commission hires judges and magistrates for the judiciary.
Okay.
They hired persons who, when they went to work in January, were rejected by the National Police Service. Can you imagine the judiciary rejecting judges and magistrates hired by the Judicial Service Commission? Yet Kome and other judges sit in the commission themselves. So there's a problem of sabotage and of just bad faith
from within.
Police officers are more approachable. They respect human rights. They understand sexual and gender-based violence more. You remember a long time ago, whenever you'd go to a police officer and you're a woman who's been subjected to SGBV, they would actually tell you, go back to your people, man. Yeah. But that's not the case. There are gender desks there. However, we can do much better, and perhaps the reason why the task force was actually set up was because the current regime felt the brunt of weaponized policing, especially politically, when they were trying to get into government, and perhaps that's why that is why the task force was formed. The first recommendation is that the National Police Service Commission, which is a constitutional commission, should be given a negotiated exit because they have failed their mandate.
That's a nice way of saying firing people, eh?
Yeah, get rid of them.
Yeah. Yeah, but you see, the thing is, their term is ending this year anyway.
Right.
Yeah, and as ICJ and as civil society, perhaps we're not 100% in agreement with that because they were there for the last 5 years, and we need to know what went wrong, right? So we cannot just let them go without finding out what was the problem.
But in your opinion, what exactly is the problem?
The problem is actually laid out in the report.
If someone doesn't have access to the report.
Yeah. So the problem is that the executive has never let go of the National Police Service.
Okay.
We've had a National Police Service that is very executive heavy.
Right.
That is basically, the National Police Service is a tool of the executive, of the regime, to maintain itself. Right?
Yes.
And that is why from 2007, actually from even the 90s, 2007, 2017, last year during the Mandamano, you see that the police sometimes act like they have instructions from above, and it doesn't matter who you are. Yet the Constitution envisions a National Police Service that is there to serve the people, is there for to protect the sovereignty of the people of Kenya. So they're there to serve the Constitution and the people. However, we've seen over the years that the police is a tool of the executive to maintain itself.
So first and foremost, you're paid peanuts, and then you're subjected to this hard-working environment, nowhere to really live. So how do you really get rid of, I mean, for a grown man earning 18, 20, 25,000 bob, while he's in a position to make that 25k per day, how will that change? Because like I know in like in America, let's say Dubai and all this, police are paid very well. It's hard to bribe them.
The report recommends a 40% increase in police salaries across the board over a period of, if I'm not wrong, about 2 years. Yes, and that is in order. Yeah, because the people who are there to defend your security, your human rights, should also be comfortable. The reality is that it's not likely to happen because of our economic issues.
We are building houses with the money.
We're building houses.
If you had to prioritize what can be changed immediately, what would you give top priority?
Policing in Kenya is very transactional.
Yeah.
So you end up paying money to join.
Oh, okay.
Paying money to be promoted, paying money to be taken to the traffic unit.
Oh, that's the best department in the police
That
force.
is where that's where the money is.
The most rewarding.
Yes, the most rewarding.
Yeah, it's more liquid.
Yes, and so if you are a diligent police officer with no connections, it will be hell on earth for you because you got in there because of a calling, yet there are people there who are there to make money, and it is very sad. Remember, the Inspector General himself, a few months ago, while in Kenya School of Government, claimed that he's been offered what they call returns by his juniors. This is the Inspector General saying that his juniors offered him some money.
To do what?
You see, every time you are in your mtaa, you find police officers walking around, going to all the bars. They are the ones who actually get money from matatus.
Okay.
Where does that money go? So apparently it goes up.
There's a hierarchy.
There's a hierarchy.
Yeah.
Like a reverse pyramid.
Yes, and even
Reverse pyramid.
and even during the vetting, the last police vetting, the one we had around 2013, 2014, when it got to traffic police, the vetting stopped being public.
Yeah, they said this is
Yes.
the business acumen of these guys.
Yeah. And because they realized that there are people who had been fired, senior officers who had been fired, and a year later they were still receiving money from their juniors.
What?
Yeah. Corruption in Kenya is there not because people are paid less, it's because it's becoming a culture. It's becoming a culture when you need to be hired, you tell the person in charge of hiring, I'll scratch your back like this. You understand? And you remember last week when the High Court struck down some the career hiring because it was just like purely tribal. You understand?
Yes.
And that is also a problem. Yet, if you look at the Constitution, I think it's Article 255 speaks 245 speaks of policing that needs to have the face of Kenya. You remember when policing was assumed to have a certain accent?
Kijana unataka wapi, unaenda wapi?
Wapi kitambulisho?
Msiseme sana, I'm from there. But yeah. There are three philosophies of policing, right?
Yes.
So the first philosophy is the one we've spoken about, is regime policing, where the police are there to protect the regime, and as long as they're protecting the regime allows them to solicit money where they can. The other one is community policing, where it is the communities with the police, in conjunction with the police, basically safeguarding communities.
Yes.
The third one is the intelligence-based policing. And we are told that a combination of intelligence-based policing and community policing is the best.
Okay.
Community policing is entrenched in the Constitution and in the National Police Service Act. And it's part of what the Maraga report recommends, that we should go back to what does community policing mean for Kenyans. However, we were told about Nyumba Kumi. Nyumba Kumi was not community policing, really. Nyumba Kumi was snitching on your neighbor. It wasn't about you sitting down with your neighbors to safeguard your community, to report crime whenever you see it.
Yes.
To be in dialogue with the OCS. It was about basically, if you see something, say something. Yes, GSU are police officers.
Police officers, yeah.
And administration police are also police officers.
Also police
but
officers.
why do they have this sibling rivalry kind of thing? Like if
Your AP,
APs come in here, there's the regular police, they'll just have to split and let one or the other continue with the
So in
situation.
2019 there was a pure separation of the APs and KPA, Kenya Police. And what happened is that the AP were given very specific jobs, and as the name suggests, they're supposed to. They are the ones who help in administration. So they are the ones who safeguard critical infrastructure. They're the ones who protect VIPs.
That's AP.
AP, right? And so almost 80% of APs were transferred to the normal, to the KPA, to the normal police that you would imagine, the boys in blue.
Why was that?
Just because of functions.
Wow.
Yeah. However, that brought a problem because it's a perceived problem basically, because police officers, the Kenya police officers, are trained in law because they need to interact with the public. They need to arrest they arrest the public and take them to court, and they need to testify. You understand?
Yes.
Yet the APs were walking around with chiefs, DOs, and just protecting infrastructure. And it is in the report. So there was that perceived feeling that by the Kenya police officers that the APs were inferior.
Okay.
Yet, when they were transferred, APs became OCSs, they became so on and so forth.